That must make you our new envoy. Welcome to Interstellar Affairs. I'm Deputy Chief Diplomat McIntyre, Chief Yassine's second-in-command. And you're someone I've already heard plenty about. One of the few survivors of the SysDef debacle and defender of New Atlantis. Not sure if I should duck for cover around you or shake your hand, but you have my thanks for what you did for the city regardless. I was also informed that you gave quite the presentation to the cabinet. Chief Yassine wants you to know the Interstellar Affairs Office is fully committed to this endeavor, accessing the Terramorph data and beyond. We're going to do everything in our power to make sure you have the tools you need, and that means first getting you into the archives. You do know what the archives are, correct?
Ó, ele gosta de tomar no café. Ele gosta. Ai,
Someone paid attention in current events. So, then you also know that it was
Pera, deixa eu
originally
falar
managed by the 3 major galactic players. Access to the archives is only granted in cases of dire emergency, and requires a one-time use code from each of the 3 Armistice signatories. UC, Freestar Collective, and House Varun.
Now, the UC's already on board, so that means we'll need to convince 2 people. The ambassadors of the Freestar Collective and House Varun to hand over their codes. Get them both and you'll have your data. But that's a lot easier said than done. No. Each is a strip of several million random numbers generated on the fly based on biometric keys kept by each of the ambassadors on their person at all times. They're impossible to create without those keys, and those keys stay with the ambassadors, meaning we're accessing nothing if we can't get them on our side.
I couldn't agree more. However, both ambassadors have reasons they won't, or can't, work with us. Now, I'll provide guidance on how we believe you can acquire each code, but ultimately, it'll be up to you to get them both to cooperate.
And I do mean cooperate. Threats and violence are off the table here. Though that doesn't mean we can't get creative.
But it does mean we need to get you up to speed on who you're dealing with.
O
Who do you want to
garoto-
start with? Ambassador Radcliffe of Freestar, or Ambassador Balmore of House Varun?
O Reinhard lutou em cima da bolha do
Ambassador Balmore's
macaco.
a challenge. When the
Tá
rest
tudo
of
dentro da
House
bolha do
Varun
macaco,
retreated
ele
into
"Acerta o pé do
seclusion shortly after the
macaco!"
signing of the armistice, Balmore stayed here. He's since lent his support to a small number of archival requests, so there's real hope he might again. But claiming to know how a member of House Varun thinks is a quick way to earn yourself a psych
Ô,
eval.
tocar música. Ô, sem brincadeira, tocar a música do cofre faz mês, viado. Eu ainda não achei esse cofre, viado. Puta que pariu, que raiva, mano.
Well,
Pô,
these
sem
days,
brincadeira,
they're
todo dia
primarily
eu
considered a
não
security
achei
threat.
esse cofre, mano.
House Varun Zealots, a fundamentalist
Reino,
outshoot of the group that
nada
stayed
do
behind when the rest retreated into seclusion,
Nada.
want nothing more than to send everyone
Medo.
not dedicated to their cause to the great serpent in the sky. But that hasn't always been the case.
Caralho.
After they ended the Serpent's Crusade about 70 years back, House Varun did take a real run at trying to normalize relations with the rest of the galaxy. It's why they have an embassy here in the first place, why they were included in the armistice negotiations. But then, without warning, they left, leaving behind, to our knowledge, just the ambassador and his duty under the armistice.
Jogar uma partida de over.
It does, but there's a
Aí
concern.
você trabalha.
We're not 100% sure Balmore's actually
Só
still
de pé, só de
alive.
raiva.
His public appearances are always rare, but it's been several years now since he last poked his head out. Scans of the facility show life signs, but not the kind we were expecting.
Your task is to find him and
Mas legal
kindly
todo
but
mundo.
firmly remind him of
Mas
his
volta
duties
todo
under
mundo
the
gosta,
armistice.
né? Faça mais amigos, adicione 3 pessoas. Daí eu vou ver as pessoas.
Then you search the embassy for his biometric key, collect your code piece, and we'll go about notifying his next of kin, if we can ever find them. But let's hope it doesn't come to that.
Vamos ver o perfil completo.
The embassy is still legally House Varun's sovereign territory, so we're not technically permitted inside.
Como a gente ontem.
We've snuck in the occasional spy, of course, but the ambassador has proven more evasive than you'd expect for a man of his age.
É amanhã que
But
começa já o.
we're quite sure he hasn't
medo.
left the city. The man stands out.
Amanhã que começa o
É,
aniversário do Over.
amanhã tem muita coisa.
19, né? Por quê?
Amanhã lança o jogo do Pinóquio lá.
Que jogo do Pinóquio?
O Lies of P.
Qual?
O Lies of P. Que você jogou a demo.
Obrigado.
Vai lançar amanhã. Vai ter o bagulho do Over. Vai ter atualização no Forte, se pá. E um jogo que você não joga que vai ter desafio no BS.
Nossa, calma aí. E agora pro BF? Caraca, Kings Row DPS! Não! Não!
The Varun delegation brought more than a few of their native flora with them when they set up in the embassy. It seems those plants have been allowed to flourish, making it hard for us to verify what's flora and what's ambassador.
Valeu, pegou o game. Ai, como eu gosto desse cara, hein, mano. Cara da hora, mano. É isso aí, mano. Game muito mais legal. Joga com ele. Nossa, game de gelinho.
I have no doubt.
Pariu.
No, the embassy front door isn't an option, but our spies have stated there's a side entrance that should allow you access. Here, this device should get you all the way down to the embassy
Severino, vai ter que
interior.
mudar sua
Once
tag,
you're
Severino.
inside, though,
Olha
finding
a
the
tag
ambassador is
do
going to be up to
game,
you.
mano.
And fair warning, we received a report that
Limoneto de
alarms
limonada.
might have been tripped inside the embassy
Caraca.
during the attacks.
Porque
Watch
o
out for
Eduardo
automated
pegou.
security in there.
Limoneto de limonade. Mentira. Mas coloca essa tag.
The good Ambassador Ratcliffe
Ah,
She's a
não tem
veteran.
Widow?
of the Colony War, and her only goal in life is to make ours miserable. Now, officially, our office is suggesting you try and negotiate with her.
Ai,
Use your
mas tinha
experiences as a member of the military and with the threat we're facing to convince her to lend her support.
And who knows? Maybe that'll work. Stranger things have happened. But my suspicion is
Well,
we're
that
going
is
to
good.
have to rely on other tools to get her code.
Me cura, puta véia. Clipei, que merda.
Huh. Well, if that's the case,
Pô, olha
I'll
o
wait to be
bicho aí na
pleasantly
sala.
surprised. But we do have one item up our sleeve. UC
Caraca,
Intelligence
ninguém
has a
tá me dando
recording
servidor, ele
device
morreu.
planted in the ambassador's living quarters, which we suspect you can use to your advantage.
But getting caught trespassing is a quick way to land
Me cura, me
yourself
cura,
in
me
an
cura, me cura,
embassy
me cura, me
holding
cura, me
cell.
cura. Me cura, puta.
So, if you are going to try and access the device,
Porra,
you're
Hilari.
going to need to find a way in there
Como é que não
without
cura, viado?
being seen.
Now, we recovered some intel we
Caralho,
believe
que
should be able to
raiva.
help with that. But there's also a disgruntled staff member you might be able to pump for information.
Cacete, mano.
Maybe
e não
even
tinha pego
convinced to work
ponto,
with
mano.
you.
Pô, isso me irrita demais, mano. Me irrita muito nego lesado, mano. Pô, como
Name's
pega
Cameron
nego
Long.
burro, nego mongo,
He's
mano.
younger than Ratcliffe, bears
Pô,
less
de
of a grudge towards the
estressar,
UC.
viado.
He works
Tá jogando de
closely
tudo.
with the
É só
ambassador,
curar, viado.
making him a promising
Nem isso o
source
cara
for
presta.
information on the ins and outs of embassy life, and someone
Aí,
who
ó,
very
filho da puta,
likely
Hilário, tô em mim.
hates her guts.
Entendi.
Yes, many. Don't steal anything. Don't get caught anywhere you're not supposed to. Absolutely do not harm anyone. If something goes wrong, we'll do our best to smooth things over, but I can't make any promises.
All right. Here, your diplomatic ID. I'll give them a heads up, you're on your way. Not likely to let you through the door otherwise.
And take these. Chief Yassine wanted you to have some options on how to proceed in there.
Now, if you have additional questions or
Recruit
require
issue.
clearance for a new approach we haven't already discussed, don't hesitate to ask. I'd suggest you start with Ambassador Radcliffe. Approach her while the attack is still fresh in her and her staff's mind. Be smart out there, Captain.
Cura em mim, 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 cura em mim. Não puxa! Cura! Ah, mas vai tomar no cu.
Howdy.
Porra, o limite tá muito isso, velho. Porra, não sabe jogar de cura e puxa suporte, mano. Que raiva disso. É isso? Ah, beleza. Pra que me puxar, sua bicha?
By the way,
comigo, pô.
Sergeant Leonie was looking
Fudeu, hein, Genji? Pô, todo mundo é burro, velho. Porra. Ah, mano, não é possível. Não é possível. O bicho do chefe colocou a vida protegida na porta e eu do lado de lá com a filha da puta uniformado. Não! A vida protege a vida e eu do lado de lá.
This doesn't add up.
Me puxou e a arma travou. Ah, vai tomar no cu. Vai ver o
You are a
probabilizado,
visitor?
mano.
You'll find the
Pô, me pega
ambassador.
demais, você não tá ligado, mano.
Go on.
Olha.
Visitors are only allowed in the lobby, offices, or conference room.
Cura em mim, 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 cura em mim. Mano, meu time tá. Mano, o meu time tá adiantado. O meu time tá afastado. Afastado por causa do milagre.
all that
Time recuou
security,
inteiro.
they still
Por
can't
causa da
protect their
milagre.
own spaceport.
O Ramado.
The UC never
É,
fails to disappoint.
Por causa de um milagre.
Just
Deu
wish
lá
I
na frente
hadn't
com
received the
isso,
news from an SSNN broadcast.
Pô, ainda bem que eu vou
We
trabalhar,
have a
mano. Já
strategic
coloca aí,
advantage to
velho. Toda vez que eu
maintain,
falar vou jogar um
Mr.
over à tarde, mano, me lembra. Não me
Of
deixa,
course,
mano.
ma'am.
Tanto
I'll
de
make sure it
imbecil,
doesn't
mano.
happen again.
Mano, ninguém
excuse
ninguém
me.
quebra.
Are you supposed to be in here? I'm sorry. Do you have an appointment?
Mano, luta, soldado, luta. Luta, porque ninguém te viu aí. Luta, porque ninguém te viu aí. Meu time só tem imbecil, mano. Mano, eu não posso jogar tarde.
Ah, you're the one McIntyre
Então,
called
assim,
about.
eu não tô
The
trabalhando aí, não.
eyewitness. She said you were at the spaceport. You have my thanks for what you did down there, truly. Saved many lives. Now, she also mentioned that, and maybe it was just a bad connection, that now the UC
Mano, não
wants
tem cura, eu não
terramorph
tenho
data
cura.
from the
Eu não tenho
Armistice
cura.
archives.
Eu não tenho cura.
Some of the most highly
Não.
guarded information in the galaxy.
O que pega
In order
suporte,
to
mano?
protect us all. I can only presume
Beleza,
you're here to
amigo,
tell
eu
me I
não posso jogar
misheard her
tarde,
and
eu
that
não
they
vou
didn't send you, local hero, to futilely beg on
Puta
their
que
behalf.
pariu, mano.
Tell me how
Ele
to
lá, Hilário curou 9 mil e o bicho curou 10, mano. Não, a Hilário custou 4, quer dizer. Mano, o bicho tá jogando sozinho, viado. O bicho curou mesmo tanto que os dois healers de lá, viado.
Excuse me. A less level-headed person might think that was a threat, Captain. Let me be frank, Captain. The answer is no. That
Mano, me
information
cure
is
em nome de
there
Jesus,
because
mano.
it is dangerous.
Cura,
I will
caralho.
not be the one responsible for its release. Now, why don't you quit wasting my time and yours and go? No, Captain, I'm not, and I'll tell you why. What you experienced down there at the spaceport, I've lived that once before already. Fought tooth and nail as aliens rampaged in the streets of my home and others all throughout the collective. But my aliens were placed there by UC hands. So I'm not interested in anyone getting power like that ever again.
O Ramatra
The
aqui. E
UC
coloca o
most of
escudo e
all.
vai na frente do escudo na 3 acertada. Ah, meu amigo.
You're really
Não
gonna
dá,
push
mano.
this?
Ele é assim.
All right, I will give you one chance. One to convince me. Understood. I'm listening.
Biscate.
You know that for sure. That is interesting.
É isso, velho. Isso é ruim de game, a gente pega adiante.
I suppose you might be right. Easy to lose sight of the big picture
Olha,
sometimes.
coloca o obelisco, mano. Nossa.
A fair point. How would it look if the collective simply sat by while more attacks came to pass? Well, Captain,
Soldado Tony.
you make some good points. But if I'm really granting you
Tony,
access,
Tony,
I'm gonna
Tony,
need the
ninguém cura,
following
ninguém cura, ninguém
concessions.
cura.
Your access will be limited. You can only take out the items related to stopping these terramorphs. The monitors will make sure of it. You go in once, you get everything you need on your trip, and never again. And all research done with the data will be monitored. If this data is being used to save the galaxy needs to be involved in the oversight.
Jogada minha.
Freestar scientists will watch your people like hawks. So, do we have an agreement? Excellent. Follow me.
Credo, mano. Não dá, mano. Verdade, mano. Quando eu começar a jogar e ver que o filho da puta não sabe curar, velho. O bagulho é que tá, mano. Ele tá em calma, não quer nem saber, mano. Se eu ver que tem diferença de 3 mil de cura, mano. Porra, parece mano. Muito lindo de novo.
Não lembro de ontem, não. Eu de luz com 10k de cura e o outro com cura com 4 mil, 2 mil, 3 mil e o outro lado 5 mil, 5 mil. Não dá, mano. É uma questão que os caras não
Tell me
sabem
it should
jogar.
only take a moment.
Morre demais.
And there. Here, I'll reach out to Deputy McIntyre. We'll coordinate the necessary oversights. Two unlikely allies, I guess.
Cotou, velho. Caiu.
O time não avança.
Matar, mano.
You're out there a lot, right?
Parecendo duas missões ao mesmo tempo.
Eita, mas olha, meu.
E... aqui.
Esse daqui tá só de enfeite, porque tem dois atrapalhadores no time inimigo e nada do outro. Certo, aqui. 3 horas eu volto.
Uhum.
So, what seems punishment becomes providence. A reminder we can never truly know the Great Serpent's designs for us. You have my thanks, and my apologies for the ordeal you just endured. Come, let us discuss. Not the ideal introduction, I suppose, giving you a grand tour of the embassy via barely functioning intercoms. I do greatly appreciate your persistence. I suspect the Venom tree upstairs has worked itself into more systems than I'd realized. But then again, who could cage such a beauty? Tell me though, what is it like outside? I heard the broadcast mentioning an attack. Then the embassy was struck with a power surge and then... silence. Has the rest of the city suffered quite so badly? Harmless spores, you have my word, but hard to navigate. Hence why I was guiding you through the intercoms to restore the environmental controls. And release me. It is the sap of the tree that gives it its... well, perhaps not a topic for this exact moment. But I must know of the rest of the city. Does it still stand? I take it you didn't have such an experience where you were then, hmm? Yes, the entire embassy was thrown into lockdown, trapping me in my quarters, disabling the Venom tree's filters, and arming the defenses. A disconcerting experience, to say the least. Was the rest of the city spared? Is that right, huh? I shall need to have these repairs seen to sooner rather than later. Now, it cannot solely be the Serpent's grace that brought you here at such an opportune moment. You were sent by the UC. That much is obvious. Who else could just waltz through my door, hmm? And the broadcast spoke of terror morphs at the spaceport. A worrying occurrence, certainly, but coming here of all places, when all I could provide is some enthused cheerleading and... an archive code. So the UC requires information then. On terrormorphs, presumably, Do I see this all clearly? The preservation of life stands as the very purpose of the archives. Using its data to prevent more attacks, there is logic there. But if I am to grant you access, I have a requirement. For years, House Varun has been known only as an agent of slaughter. We founded this embassy with hopes of shedding that legacy. With little success. In exchange for my code, I require this. You must be the one who ensures it is used for good. Ensure House Varun's legacy is more than just carnage. The knowledge you ask for isn't evil. No knowledge is. It is we who bend it to evil ends. Oh, you must assure me this will be used to save lives, not endanger them. Well then, I shall not fear. Please, follow me. Let's hope it still works. Let it be used for good.
you're back sooner than... Oh, wait. Did you actually succeed? With Radcliffe? And Balmore? We're all in agreement. So the old man was still lurking around in there. Fine work, Captain. And now, I've already arranged everything with the archival monitors. When you get down there, the UC monitor will give you instructions on how to deploy the codes. Follow them to the letter. Here, the UC code piece and an archival access card. The entrance is just on the other side of the plaza across from Mast. Absolute best behavior down there, all right?
went down. Impressive work.
Captain, if you'd be willing to transfer the documents to the Major, she and I have been discussing what comes next.
Time for us to start getting some real answers. And figure out if we've been asking the right questions. So whenever you're ready. Yes. It will be. Percival and I have done our damage. This is us starting to put some things right. So with the data out of the way, we've been discussing where exactly this work's getting done. The Red Devil's headquarters on Mars, back where you found Percival, seemed the natural spot. Already has the equipment, the safety measures. Though it sounded like the deputy had a few more things she needed to discuss with you first.
Indeed. The most important of which is getting you your citizenship.
Then I guess we'll see you on Mars.
Captain, if you'll follow me.
Follow me.
Okay, now I've seen everything.
All right, Captain. Are you ready to become a citizen of the United Colonies?
Well, only citizens can own property in New Atlantis. We also pay a discounted rate at any United Colonies merchant. And all citizens receive an ample credit disbursement upon joining.
Good. This isn't the only item we need to discuss, so I'll give you the short version. Please raise your hand. Captain, through your actions today and in days past, you have earned your place among the United Colonies. Through service, bravery, strength, and upholding of the mutual good. Will you carry and cultivate these values for as long as you remain a citizen? Then, Captain, I'm pleased to welcome you into the United Colonies as a full citizen. Here, your official ID and your citizenship dispensation.
We've also let the Aphelion Realty office out in the plaza know you're approved to purchase property.
Now, the other item we needed to discuss. There's a member of the UC who's asked to speak to you, but this person is in a sensitive position.
Normally, we wouldn't even consider something like this. But we think this person has information that could prove useful in dealing with the Terramorphs. And they've stated they'll only share it with you. They asked for you by name.
So I need your agreement that everything you're about to see is kept in the strictest confidence. You can tell no one. Can you agree to these terms? I'm sorry. I can't share any more without your word. Do I have it? Let's hope it never comes to that. Head to the elevator. You're going to subsection 7. I'll make sure you're cleared for access by the time you get there.
President Abeyo was kind enough to give me a few files to peruse. Quite the series of accomplishments you've managed. But now you face a foe unlike any other. An invisible enemy, lurking in the shadows. You're going to need all the help you can get. Which is why I hoped we could speak. Do you know who I am? There's a reason for that. Introductions first, though. I'm Francois Sanon, but most know me as Victus. I was an admiral during the Colony War. One of its great villains, if you believe the slates. I was to be executed for my crimes, but the previous regime deemed me too valuable to simply discard. So they put me here. A sacrifice on the altar of peace. Even my death served the colonies. To warrant my execution, the official charges I faced after the war were twofold. The first was the destruction of civilian ships during the Battle of Cheyenne, a battle during which those civilian ships were actively attacking my fleet. The other was ordering the bombing of the Londinian spaceport to halt the spread of the Terramorph outbreak there. The city and its citizens were lost, but countless others likely saved. And for doing what was right, I was put on trial, and my life irrevocably changed. One final act of rebellion by the leadership that lost the Colony War. The trial was authentic. I faced tribunal with dignity, but my execution, staged. A lethal injection that was anything but. The cabinet at the time, long gone now, wished to keep me on as an advisor, and considering the other option, I was in no place to refuse. So I elected to trade my freedom for my continued existence. But such is the life of a soldier. Very astute. That's my daughter. My progeny. You've been working alongside. Has she shared with you the nature of our little family? Did she? So willing to trust Hadrian. I never did succeed in driving that out of her. Our relationship has always been a challenging one. The Major was born to become a great leader, carry on the legacy I established, and was given all the finest training to support it. And she excelled. But the universe cut all that short. Now, though, it's placed even more crucial work in front of the two of you. And I think I have a part to play in helping you accomplish what you've set out to do. After some long years earning the trust of this current regime, the UC has been permitting me to work alongside one of their recovery teams, helping them gather intelligence on, locate, and organize scenarios to lure in some of the criminals that evaded justice after the Colony War. With quite a few successes, I might add. But in the process, I managed to find something else. The names and locations of Hadrian and Percival's old research team. Valuable manpower for the effort you're about to embark on. I'll tell you where they are, but in exchange, I need something dealt with. mine for details. Where someone was born, next of kin. You'd be shocked how often an otherwise brilliant criminal flees to the planet just next to the one where they were born, or where a family member resides. I simply use my own personal knowledge and the information our group collects for me to track them down and set things right. There is a former colleague of mine, a man by the name of Dr. Reginald Orlaise. Like myself and Hadrian, he was involved in some of the United Colony's more problematic lines of research. Mech weapons were his specialty. If it dealt death, he could make a deal more. When the colony war ended, he fled, refusing to face tribunal, and has continued to peddle his skills to the highest bidder to this day. But I finally found him. I want you to track him down and deal with him, however you're able. I'm not expecting he'll come quietly. Bring me evidence that the job's done, and I'll tell you what I know. Captain, your files indicate a track record of unlikely successes. It is my genuine hope that, perhaps down the line, you might become a part of our team. And this might be something of a tryout. Speak to Deputy McIntyre. I'm sure she'd be happy to hear that someone might be tying up this loose end at long last. Though I would ask you, do not make the mistake of confusing me for a simple cutthroat. You can certainly try, but the man's been out there 20 years. He's likely gone feral by now. Easier for all if you simply blow up his ship and be done with it. If that's what you require to sleep at night, so be it. According to my information, he's been hiding around the world of Etheria, Wolf System. There's a star station in the vicinity, the Den. The head of the local Vanguard, one Captain Marquez, should be able to help you find our man.
Identity verified. You may proceed to the exit.
Captain, did your meeting go well? I hope it's clear now why we needed you to agree to all the secrecy. Surprised me too when I learned it, but the prisoner has proven useful over the years, and kept far from any major decision-making. But I do think it's worth re-emphasizing. No one else can know about this. All right? The Major doesn't have clearance for this sort of information, and she certainly doesn't need a distraction from her current, very important work. Which is why I need you to keep this to yourself. Good. Because bringing this up to the outside world would create the unfair appearance, Captain, that you're unhinged. And that's not a good look for any of us. Now, was there something in particular you needed to discuss about what we were just discussing? Dr. Reginald Orlaise? He's finally found him. Of course, killing Orlaise is completely out of the question, but bringing him to justice... He's been on the lam for years. That'd be a huge win for the UC. What's being offered in return? Really? He found the members of the research team. We'd already initiated a search for them, but it'd save a lot of time and manpower if he just gave us that information. Captain, if that's the deal, you have my endorsement. Just so long as you make every effort to bring the man in alive. Now, was there anything else you wanted to discuss regarding your meeting? Trusting the man downstairs would be a mistake, but I don't think you need to be too concerned. This is far from the first name he's handed over, and all previous missions went off largely without a hitch. So while I'd certainly warrant caution, I think you can proceed. The Den? It's a star station. Orbiting Wolf, the second star station actually to bear that title. The first one was blown to smithereens by House Varun during the Serpent's Crusade. The place has always acted as a remote strategic hub, primarily for repairing and refueling UC military vessels. But because of its distance from the rest of the UC, things there have always been a little more lax. Patrols included. I can think of worse places in the galaxy for a criminal to hide out. Then I'll bid you good day, Captain, and remind you of the importance of discretion.
Okay. Hello.
Acknowledging incoming hail. Docking Bay 1 is free.
Solid docking tray there. Nice work.
Oh, only a matter of time before I get promoted out of here.